Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to the ACE Mentor Program of Washington Student Presentation Night. My name is Angela Gatula. I'm the Executive Director for the ACE program here in Washington State. For 19 years in our area, the ACE Mentor Program has brought together key sectors of the design and the construction industry: architecture, engineering, construction management, real estate development, and more, to raise the awareness for hundreds of high school students to the possibility of careers in these fields. Since 2001, an estimated 3,000 students have gone through our local ACE program, and we have awarded more than $74,000 in scholarships. And we plan to award $100,000 more to 14 seniors at the end of the month. And that includes several seniors who will be on this call tonight. In our program, about 220 students from 64 high schools participated this year. They were on 11 student teams, 7 in Seattle, 2 on the east side, and 2 in the South Sound and Tacoma area. Our Puget Sound program ranks among one of the highest in the nation for the number of high schools that are involved. The students were mentored by 185 of the brightest professionals from 65 of our region's architecture, construction, and engineering firms. At about 4:15 this afternoon, I emailed a program to all of the students and parents, mentors, and registrants of this virtual event. In the program, it lists the names of all of the students and the mentors and outlines a bit more about this year's student project. I'd like to give a special congratulations to this year's outstanding seniors. The program also has links to our Facebook page and Instagram pages. Be sure to check those out and like us and follow us. And again, congrats to the seniors. This was a year unlike any other, and you did great. Over the course of this school year, the teams visited construction sites, learned about each of the disciplines, and they met bi-monthly at mentor firm offices. The team spent most of the year working on a design project in response to a mock request for proposal that the ACE leadership team created. All of the students' hard work culminates in this evening's presentations. This year, the students were challenged to develop one of 3 different sites along the Seattle waterfront, and I'm excited to see what both of the teams came up with. Of course, we'd also like to acknowledge the incredible effort of all the mentors and the students as we worked around school closures and quarantine mandates, and we transitioned to a virtual ACE program. All 11 of this year's ACE teams finished their designs and recorded presentations to be webcast in a series of virtual events this week. Tonight is the 4th of 5 ACE events. We've been celebrating the teams all week, and we'll celebrate them tomorrow too. Congratulations to everyone involved, the mentors, the students, and especially the families for finishing out this year really strong. Great job. For this virtual event tonight, we wanted to up the prestige a little bit, so we invited a panel of judges to review the presentations and moderate the Q&A session. I'd like to introduce our panel to you. First, Rob Widmeyer is a senior principal at Element Architects. I believe he's retired, but he knows all things about architecture. Rob currently serves as the president of the ACE Board of Directors, and he's been involved with ACE literally from the beginning, from 2001, longer than I've been around. Thanks for joining us, Rob. Secondly, we invited Matt Johnson. He's a project manager at Swenson Safe Faget. Matt previously served for many years as an ACE team leader, putting together these designs and presentations just like what you all have done this year. Matt's been away from ACE for many years, so I'd like to think that coming to this event tonight feels a bit like visiting an old friend. So thanks, Matt, for joining us. And lastly, we've invited Marjorie Chang Fuller. She's business development manager at Hoffman Construction. She was invited as an ACE industry representative, an industry professional. Marjorie's firm, Hoffman, is a great supporter of the ACE program, but I believe this is her first time coming to a presentation like this. So I look forward to hearing her thoughts later on. So thank you for all of the guest panelists for joining us tonight. Next, I just want to run through a few logistics for our call. So all attendees should remain muted unless speaking. The student should notice that their names are already listed as first name, last name, and then team name. If you are a student and you are on the call and it does not look like your name is first name, last name, or team name, then you can change it, I believe, or reach out to one of your mentor leaders and we can get that fixed for you. This will come in handy later. There are 2 designations on this call. We're in a webinar, not a regular Zoom meeting. So most of us who are watching the call right now are attendees, but there are some who are watching the call who are Panelists. So what's happening at this moment is all of the students who are on the call right now have joined as a panelist. Imagine we're all in a big theater together and everyone is standing on the stage and we are panelists. When we begin our call, the Monday team is going to give their presentation first. It's kind of like all of the students from the Tuesday team are going to sit down. And so we will take those panelists and turn them into attendees. So they are in attendee status during the Monday presentation. If you are a student and the Monday presentation, that is your team, you will be a panelist during that presentation. When your presentation is done and it's time for the Tuesday team to go, the roles will switch. We will turn all of the Monday students into attendees and we'll turn the Tuesday students into panelists. I hope that makes sense. The reason this is really important is that if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a button that says Q&A. You can click on that button. What's interesting is that anyone on this call who is an attendee, you can type a question at any time. If you are watching the presentation and something piques your curiosity, you can type a question there. But panelists are the ones who can answer those questions. A panelist doesn't even have the opportunity to type a question. So we'd like the panelists, the students to be in panelist mode when their presentations are being shown so that they can respond to questions. And then anyone else who's an attendee will be able to pose questions to the group that is in the spotlight. I hope that makes sense. It's going to be a little bit of shuffling. It just takes a couple of seconds, but that will happen during the course of our call. At the end of each video, the end of each presentation, our 3 guest judges will moderate the Q&A session. So they will be able to go to that Q&A button, take some questions that are there, share them, or bring them out for more individuals on the team to respond to, or they can come up with questions of their own. What's important is that the students, if you're on display, if you are a panelist and your team has just shown its video, you need to be paying attention so that you can chime in and answer those questions. So the last thing I wanted to ask is to please remain for both presentations to support both of the teams and be respectful to everyone who has put in the time and the energy to putting together their presentations this year. We're really excited to see what is in store for us tonight. So we are about to get started. I think what we will do now, Mark, are you ready to we will turn our Tuesday students into attendees. Does that sound like a good idea? We're going to do that first. And
yep,
then,
let's do that.
Okay, we'll do that first, and then I'll introduce our Monday mentor leaders. So give us just a second while we do a little bit of shuffling. The students will find you're kicked out of the meeting for about 5 seconds, sort of like I'm moving you to a breakout room. All right, doing great. Okay. I feel like we've got everybody. Mark, got everyone? Looks like it.
Just going through, making sure we didn't move any else by accident, but it looks like we are good.
We're ready to go. Okay, let me introduce our mentor leaders for Monday. This video presentation will go first. Our 2 team leaders were Marissa Gelms from Magnuson Klemensic Associates and Ishani Singhal from Magnuson Klemensic Associates. Take a few minutes and introduce your team, and then we'll roll your video.
Thank you, Angela. So as you said, we had students from all over Seattle. We had about 20 students, I want to say, on our team. Mentors from several companies in Seattle. Our architectural team was Callison RTKL. Our construction team was Hoffman Construction. Mechanical was Kaufman. And structural was a mixture of both Magnuson Klemensic Associates as well as Kaufman. Students did a great job this year staying involved and really putting it all out to finish this out. And so with that, I'll start our presentation with the sedimentary extrapolations. Thank you.
Hey, welcome to Seattle Monday Team 1. ACE is an engaging program for aspiring high schoolers interested in architecture, engineering, and construction fields. The disciplines we've gotten to explore are architecture, structural engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and construction management. Our site is located along Alaskan Way and Pine Street along the Seattle waterfront, in a lot previously covered by the viaduct. Our design helps to connect downtown Seattle to the waterfront. We have decided to work on Plot A. The main features on our site include a restaurant and bar, mixed-use offices, open marketplace, and landscape work, including artwork and gathering spaces. We will be presenting what we have prepared by the architecture group. This portion of the presentation will include concepts and drawings for site, building exterior, and interior. Our overall concept was based off of contrasts such as the organically shaped portion on the right inspired by rice fields and hard lines on the left. The Great Stair cutting through the building and urban park allows pedestrians to transition from concrete and the city to a more open and organic waterfront.
Our building is based on the idea of rice paddies, so we're trying to connect the idea of nature to our structure. We're trying to use the concept of nature to bring more green space into the area. Based off the picture in the bottom left, looking at the location of our building as pointed out by the gray arrow, and the surrounding green spaces in the downtown Seattle area, our structure's location would be a perfect place to incorporate more green space into the Seattle area. The picture in the top right represents the amount of foot traffic that would happen on our site. Heavier amounts of foot traffic, as represented by the red arrows, are located toward the front infrastructure and top of the stairs, because these are the places where more people would gather, because these are the entrances and exits of the site. Lighter foot traffic, as represented by the green arrows, are in the green space of our site, because people would spread out in these locations to walk around that area.
My name is Caroline. I am a 12th grader at University Prep in Seattle, and I will be discussing our site plan and our landscape plan. So we wanted our major vehicle entrance to be off of Alaskan Way down Pine Street to our underground garage. We wanted our foot traffic to enter from the north of the lot from our bridge from Pike Place Market. Additionally, from the southeast corner of our lot, there would be a pedestrian entrance from the sidewalks off of Alaskan Way. Overall, we wanted our lot to be more pedestrian friendly, which is why we screened the main vehicle entrance on Alaskan Way and Pine Street with trees. And then we also had all of our wandering paths be really open with lots of locations for local sculpture artists to show their works.
The exterior landscape can become the continuation of the Olympic Sculpture Park while highlighting local artists such as John Grade and Troy Pillow and many others.
With our site being along the waterfront in the downtown area, we wanted to incorporate organic shapes along with sharp and rigid geometric shapes so that the building blends the curved lines of nature with the industrial angular look of urban surroundings of downtown Seattle.
We chose the bluish reflective glass for the windows of this building to give it a more open and modern feel. And the white geode we chose to outline the purple geode crystals on the inside of the feature to give a harsh contrast while giving off an appealing texture. We chose a light stair color and a dark roof to contrast nicely to highlight the stairs, which is a focal point of this building.
The archway is one of our main highlights within our building, and taking inspiration from a geode has many rigid and geometric shapes, which splits the building into two separate parts, an organic section and a geometric section. The inside of the archway would be primarily made up of colorful stained glass to give pedestrians a unique experience while walking through the outside of our building and through our geode-like structure. The stained glass would give the effects of crystals, while the light concrete structure would act as support for the glass and show the geode.
For the exterior materials, we wanted the geode on the inside to have a very colorful vibe, separating the two sides. With each side having very harsh or dark colors, we wanted a modern, industrial feeling on the outside. So we thought that the roof of each floor should be dark concrete, with the walls being lighter and more inviting. But we wanted the geode in the middle to really stand out and have real pop to it, so we decided to make it very colorful, like I said before. To separate the more organic shapes and curvy line side of the restaurant and marketplace from the more rigid and sharp side of the offices. The stairs in the middle will also have a very light color in order to further separate the two sides of the building.
Hi, my name is Anna McDonald. I am a senior at Bellevue High School, and I will be talking about our space planning process and our floor plans. So what you see here is a bubble diagram which we use to help model the functionality of our space. This could include determining which utilities we wanted, public or private, and how they are connected between each level of the building. In the context of our building, we wanted the business center separated from the public market and restaurant areas. So, we decided to have the left half of the building designated to the business center and the right half designated to the public area, instead of just having them in separate levels of the building. This separation can be seen on our diagram as two disconnected brown bubbles. The main dividing feature between the two is the stairs, or the central brown bubble. But what's unique about them is they also create a connection between the city and green space or waterfront, and which adds coherence to the building. This is why the division is expressed with arrows which indicate movement in a connection. As you can see on the diagram, from the brown bubbles there are arrows with 1 to 3 squares at the tail. These suggest which story of the building the pink bubbles or levels will be on. From those there are green bubbles which include anything we would like to have on each level, as well as any necessary utilities. So, for example, for the restaurant on the second story, we wanted outdoor seating, indoor seating, a pantry and storage area, and of course, a kitchen. This doesn't complete the list, of course, of what will actually be included, but it generally gives an idea of how we should allocate the space. One last thing I wanted to note is the red trail of dots which connects the marketplace with the outdoor seating suggests that maybe the roof of level 1 could potentially be used as an area for outdoor seating. We can see these sorts of relationships on the floor plans on the following slide. Okay, so now that we had figured out generally what we wanted on each floor, we began to lay it out onto our floor plans. So here are the floor plans for the 3 levels of our building. And if you look closely, you can see on the level 2 floor plan, there is labeling on what looks like level 1, and that is because of what I mentioned earlier about the rooftop seating. But more generally, we put the main features such as the restaurant or marketplace facing the waterfront to take advantage of the great view, and anything else towards the back. Okay, now I'll hand you off to Leanne, who will talk about the aesthetics of our interior space.
This is our slide on interior render and sketch. As other students have mentioned before, the left side of the building is less organic and more structured. This side of the building is where the offices are going. For the office, we wanted an open and minimalistic feel that would create a warm and productive work environment. The right side of the building is where the marketplace and the restaurant are going. The first floor is for the marketplace, and for this area we wanted an industrial and Pacific Northwestern vibe. There's lots of dark wood and glass to keep the space bright with lots of natural light. The top 2 floors are for the restaurant. For this space, we wanted to have a modern style while still incorporating the Pacific Northwestern style. For this, we kept with dark woods while still including some lighter colors and lots of glass and transparent features.
For the interior materials, we wanted to place a focus on textures and design elements that have the ability to really catch your attention and get you thinking, without being too distracting or overpowering. We also wanted to really draw in that idea of geometricity and balance you can see with the exterior of the building. For example, the shape of the chandelier on the upper left is reminiscent of the geode part of the building, whereas the light fixture on the upper right shows the aspects of balance and geometricity with its suspended pendant lights of different shapes. We played with the visual aesthetics of symmetry and asymmetry from the accent table, seen in the bottom middle, down to the legs of bar stools and chairs. Lastly, we chose hues of blue, beige, and green because we wanted the space to feel natural and inviting, since our building is a spot where the Pike Place Market meets the Pacific Ocean, 2 places that all Seattleites are proud to call home.
Hi, I'm Yoshi Takeno. I'm a freshman, and I'm going to be talking about the structural engineering aspects of our project. Structural engineering mainly deals with loads and load paths in a structure. A load path documents the flow of force through a structure, which starts with the load, which is then transferred to the floor, to the beams, to the columns, and then the foundation. One specific type of load is a gravity load, which is a downward load that is applied to the structure. There are two main types of gravity loads. The first are live loads. Live loads include non-permanent loads, such as occupants, vehicles, and mechanical units, as well as environmental loads, which includes snow and rain. In our structure, we were designing for three different categories: restaurant, retail, and office space. So, we used the live load requirements from a code book in order to calculate our loads. The other type of gravity load is a dead load. Dead loads can include the building itself or superimposed dead loads. Superimposed dead loads include things such as mechanical ducts, pipework, and partitions. The first element of a gravity system is a floor. Typically, floors are in contact with live loads and can include carpet, tiles, or floorboards on top of a concrete slab, which is then on top of a steel deck that spans between beams. The next components of a gravity system are beams. Beams are used to span distances and carry vertical gravity forces from the floors above them. The material of a beam, such as wood, steel, or concrete, determines the elasticity. It holds up a certain area of the building and is designed to resist a moment, which equals force over distance. After beams, there are columns. Columns carry vertical loads from higher to lower levels. They are an important element of the structural system, and they can fail by compression when the load from above exceeds the strength of the columns and can subsequently buckle, which could cause collapse of the structure. Typically, they're made out of steel or concrete. Steel columns are either eye-shaped, box-shaped, or circular, and concrete columns can be square, rectangular, or circular cross-sections, and they can be reinforced by steel. The final element of a gravity system is the foundation. Foundations transmit loads to soils near the ground surface. One type of foundation is a spread footing, which is a reinforced structural concrete element under a column or wall. It spreads loads over a greater area, and each column or wall has a footing. One important factor to consider is soil-bearing pressure in the area. Soil-bearing pressure resists structural loads and deals with cohesiveness and how strong the soil is. It is equal to force over bearing area of the bottom of the foundation. The other type of load that a structural engineer designs for is a lateral load. Lateral loads are forces that are applied horizontally to our structure. In our area, we would be designing for wind, earthquakes, as Seattle is in the Cascadia subduction zone, and hydrostatic forces, as our building is near the waterfront. Structural engineers design lateral systems to counteract lateral forces that act sideways on a building. There are different types of lateral systems, such as braced frames, shear walls in elevators or stairwells, and moment frames. When designing our structural systems, we kept in mind the terrace design of our building. So, we had to move some of the structural elements in order to support the different levels of the building. We also wanted to accommodate views towards the water per the architect's request, and we tried to minimize columns on the floors. These are our structural plans and models of our building. When designing our structural system, we used floor plans from the architects and overlaid columns and beams in RISA, which did our load calculations for us. Here are 3D models of our structural system. I'm going to highlight the layout. Because the building is staggered, we wanted to choose a layout in order to support edges where the facade steps back with each floor. As for materials, we chose steel for most of our elements because it has a high strength to weight ratio. Compared to concrete, it is less corrosive. It's also architecturally interesting. An additional factor is that we wanted open space in our building, and longer spans are better for steel. Finally, the stairs are a big architectural element of our building that separates them into effectively two different buildings. So when designing our lateral system, we wanted to make sure that there were braces on each side of the two separate buildings to avoid eccentricity and staggering of the building.
Hi, we're Mira and Grace, the mechanical engineering team for this building. We will be giving you a rundown of the HVAC design we've been working on. I'm going to start by discussing the mechanical system types we used and what they do, and Grace will be giving you a room-by-room walkthrough of where we put our systems and why we put them there. To start, we have our radiant heaters. These radiate heat, and they're electric, so they don't require any movement of air or a compressor of any type. Next, we have our variable refrigerant flow system, or VRF. This does cooling and heating through refrigerant pipes, per its name. The outdoor condensing units do heat transfer, and the indoor fan cooler units distribute the conditioned air to a space, as you can see in the top left. The whole system is very efficient, and it's code required. Third, we have our dedicated outdoor air system, or DOAS. This is both a source of ventilation air and exhaust air. As you can see by the diagram in the bottom right corner, the return air coming from inside is heating the outdoor air that's coming in cold, so it's very efficient. It's also code required. Next, we have our exhaust fans. These exhaust the icky air to the outside of the building. This is all the gross, smelly bathroom air and dirty, greasy kitchen air that we need to get rid of somewhere. In places where we dispose of large amounts of this icky air, we need to make it back up with clean, fresh air, so we use a make-up air unit in places like the kitchen, where we're getting rid of a lot of gross, icky air. As you can see by the illustration, it's also put in the kitchen and connected to the outside, and it brings in the nice, clean air to replace the old, gross, icky air brought out by the exhaust fans.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'll be going over the floor plans. So for level 1, we have the office area. We have the VRF for cooling and the DOAS for the ventilation. We place the FCU for the VRF system in the spaces that they're serving. You can see that we have 4 ducts connected to the DOAS unit. The exhaust air from the spacer runs through the unit and then to the outside. The outside air runs through the unit and is delivered to the space it's needed. For the open market, it's completely open to the outside, so we didn't need to provide any additional ventilation. And then for the heat, we included radiant heaters, and we placed those throughout the space. For the bathroom, we have an exhaust in the corner of the bathroom that travels all the way up the building to an exhaust fan on the roof. For level 2, we have the kitchen and restaurant. We have fan cooling units in the seating area to control their temperature, and we placed 2 close to the windows because of the window temperature change, and then we had 1 in the kitchen. The DOAS is supply ventilation to the seating area and the kitchen. The exhaust and makeup air unit ducts in the kitchen keep all the disgusting icky air regulated, and for the office space, it's just like the floor below, and we placed the VRF and DOAS units in there. For the level 3 kitchen and restaurant, we included fan coil units in the seating area to control the temperature. We put 1 closer to the windows because of the window temperature change and 1 in the kitchen. The DOAS is supplying ventilation for the seating area and the kitchen. For the bar/kitchen, we didn't include any exhaust hoods, and we required all the exhaust hoods in the kitchen, and we figured that they could get all the food that was needed in the bar from the kitchen. For the roof plan, we placed the condensing units for the VRF systems here. We placed the exhaust fans and the makeup air units located above the kitchen, and they're going down into the kitchen. For the exhaust fan for the bathroom, we located that over the bathrooms, and we placed the exhaust fans away from the makeup air units to avoid all that disgusting, icky air that's going out of the building from being reintroduced into the building. Alright, so that concludes the mechanical design, and next to present is the construction management group.
This is the construction management team. My name is Mason Flott, and I'm a sophomore. Safety. For pedestrian safety, we will be closing roads and have a protective and covered sidewalk along the roads also. We will need to periodically close parts of Alaskan Way, Pine Street, and Elliott Bay Trail to make room for delivery and for general safety. There are not any businesses that need to be closed. The driveway to the apartment complex next to the site will be rerouted.
My name's Jack. I'm also a sophomore. And for logistics, we decided to include a couple of aspects. So first of all, the trailer is positioned close to one of the entrances to the site, allowing easy access for any of the workers. And in addition, the bathrooms are placed near the trailer, once again for easy access. And we've laid out the delivery routes to allow for easy drop-off and minimal movement of materials to avoid double handling and such. And they're arranged also to prevent unnecessary road closures. We use signage and fencing to prevent injuries from the public and just general confusion around the construction site. And in addition, we have around 1,800 square feet available for on-site material and equipment laydown.
I am Ryan, and I am a sophomore. I was tasked with working on the schedule, so this on the left is a breakdown of all of the main construction-related tasks into their subsections, so pre-construction, demo and site prep, building, and site work. Some of the tasks here are going to take a lot longer than others. So, for example, things like constructing the facade is going to take around 12 weeks versus some other tasks that are much shorter. That's because due to the nature of the building, this whole almost the entire facade is glass, which takes a lot of careful effort and maneuvering. And then also just erecting the superstructure is going to take a good while as well, due to it's simply it being a large task. And then also, importantly, this totals to 91 weeks / 20 months of active construction on the whole thing. And then this is the Gantt chart laid out for this, so it can be better visualized. So then again, from this you can see the tasks that I talked about previously taking a long while. You can see the facade taking 12 weeks, the superstructure taking 9 weeks. Then also the FRP foundation, so constructing the basis of the foundation should also take a good while. And then again, 91 weeks of construction, and the whole project should be finished.
Hello, my name is Linda and I am a senior. I worked on the estimate portion. Overall, this is just a very rough estimate that has been derived from the information given. The projected cost of the entire project comes to about $11.7 million. The price could be higher as art and tenant improvement have been excluded. As you can see, the cost of the building shell is substantially higher. It includes the glass facade, which is very hard to build, as well as the materials are more expensive. In the interiors portion, the numbers are largely based on assumptions from the given concept designs. An example is included that shows placement of a variety of doors. A large cost of the interiors are the stairs, which sums up to about $600,000. Thank you for attending our presentation. We are now open for any questions.
Okay, I'm going to invite the judges to ask a couple of questions of the Monday team. Thank you for that presentation.
I'll go ahead and start. It doesn't look like we have any in the Q&A chat, but I had a couple that I wrote down as I was listening. What Angela didn't tell everyone is that I'm a structural engineer, so I focus on those types of questions and stuff where it's more my expertise. So there was a lot of talk, and I believe it was Yoshi who was speaking on the structure. You did a great job of explaining the general concepts of structural engineering, but I had one quick question. You talked a lot about foundations, but didn't specifically talk about the foundation type for this building. Being very close to the waterfront and having there was mention of an underground parking structure, but I did not see that in any of the floor plans, both architectural, mechanical, or structural. Were there any, was there anything given in the RFP or questions asked about how this foundation system would be used? Was it a deep foundation soil being so close to the water? Was it shallow foundations, et cetera?
We have someone on the structural team. Is that Yoshi?
Yeah, hi. I believe we designed for a spread footing foundation.
Okay.
We didn't have any specific plans for parking. We didn't.
Okay. So there were no specific requirements for anything special, just kind of typical foundations. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what we designed for.
Okay, thank you.
So this is Rob. I would have some questions, maybe some comments first. I would like to compliment the team on a creative, interesting concept of landscape forecourt and the stair that separates the building into organic and a structured section. That was very, very interesting. I'm wondering, with the challenge of working remotely, can you say anything about how you did your research or got your inspiration for the design of the building?
Well, I mean, most of the actual concept and that kind of design was done in person. So the virtual aspects were, we did in Teams, and Zoom, we did like sharing of images, that kind of thing. So it didn't present that many difficulties, but yeah.
I'm going to read one of the questions that was posted. What are your ADA plans with the stairs? How are you addressing that?
Someone on the architecture team?
So we had a elevator going up the middle of the centerpiece, like where the stairs were. There was also a elevator on the inside of the building.
I have another question for the construction team. Very cool architectural building with a lot of curves and a lot of what a structural engineer would not like to see, not a lot of straight corners all meeting together. So how much consideration was given to extra cost from forming those edges? Or, I mean, using a steel system that they used, obviously there's some concrete topping that is more easily formed. Was there consideration given to the extra cost or time? I know, I forget the student's name who's talked about the schedule, a little bit more time for the facade, but just the general shape of the building.
Yeah, I know in terms of the time that it would take, I think we accounted for a lot of extra time in terms of shaping the exterior. In terms of cost, I think we just used square footage to that. We didn't put as much consideration there.
Yeah, I know a lot of the cost estimate was calculated off of largely pre-existing kind of averages based off of like say, what is the gross square footage of respective rooms that would need certain things, and then say like in the case of windows, you'd be what is the square footage of windows. So a lot of rough estimating was done for the cost, I know.
Yeah, understandable. Obviously not a final estimate. Just kind of curious because whenever I see buildings that are shaped like this, it gives me, scares me as a structural engineer. So I know as a contractor, sometimes it's a lot more complicated and those sorts of projects.
I would have a follow-up question to that. So the cost was presented, but I didn't hear any discussion of whether there was a budget or whether you met the budget or were over budget. Can somebody comment on that?
I do not believe there was a static budget that we were assigned, as far as I'm sure. I think it's more so that we were just trying to estimate how much it would cost and then kind of base the budget off of that. So because it wasn't a fully planned out, I guess it's not really that we were contracting with a specific person who would set a budget. It was more of kind of guessing how much would be and then how much would be required to actually construct it.
Yeah, I see a comment from Marissa that says, and I'm checking the RFP itself, which didn't seem to have anything specific listed.
I have a question for the construction team. Can you tell me how you addressed moving materials? Did you include money for a mobile crane, or did you budget for a tower crane? How did you take a look and address that?
We have the costs for a mobile crane accounted for in the estimate.
Did you choose that over a tower crane because of reach, or was there a specific reason? Budget, maybe?
I can say that in the case of this situation, we're considering the building isn't a huge number of stories, and as such, the very high upfront cost of setting up and renting a mobile, like a tower crane, we decided that it probably would not be worth it in comparison to a mobile crane, which would be able to pretty much do really most of the construction that would be required.
Great, thank you.
And I'm gonna, to make sure that the mechanical team also gets a question in here. There was a good one asked by the Q&A from Sarah. What aspects of the building energy and resource consumption are considered? Heating and cooling, water, and power consumption.
Yeah, so all the systems we have in there are up to code for Seattle's energy requirements. We didn't focus as much on water consumption, but all of our heating and cooling is energy efficient, and the systems are up to code.
I'd like to give the judges one more opportunity to either ask more questions or just give a few final words to the team before we move on to the next video.
Would you like to go ahead first, Rob?
Yeah, Rob.
I say, well, so as I said before, I was very intrigued by the creative thinking and the presentation of the design and the two pieces of the building, one more structured, one more organic, and the stairs down from High Place Market. It all seemed like they put a lot of thought and energy into that. And I do have one minor little mechanical comment would be, I really liked the new technical term, gross icky air.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Similar comments to what Rob said. It seemed not only, I think the thing that I liked was a lot of good images that always tied the whatever the aspect was talking about back to the conceptual design or the bigger picture that was kind of kept very steady throughout the presentation. So you had even when you're talking about your systems and doing a good job explaining how those specific systems work with the building, there was always sort of a tie back to the general concept and kind of sticking with that, which is a great way to stay on task to make sure you're developing a building that's what the client wants and what the idea and concept of that building is. So I thought that was really good. The only thing I will say is with any presentation, always watch your pace of presenting and just make sure you're nice and calm. Don't speak too quick and stay nice on pace. I think for the most part, everyone did a very good job. And I understand there's a lot of complexities with doing Zoom and things being, I'm sure, put together. But that's just kind of a general presentation comment is slow down, take your time and explain. You know, guys did a very good job explaining everything. So no need to stress out and speak kind of quick. I know I do that as well.
I'd have to agree with all the comments already spoken about. You guys did a great job. The detail was great. One thing I would have liked to have seen was a little bit more breakout on the construction costs instead of just the overall numbers. Would have been nice just to see you dive in a little bit more. And I don't know, for me, I would have loved to have seen your faces while you guys were presenting. But other than that, I think you guys did a great job.
Looks like there's one more question in the Q&A that we could bring up. Julie A says, I'm wondering about noise mitigation for the interior for office spaces and restaurants. The concrete and high ceilings could be loud. So was there, which team would answer that, noise mitigation? Any thoughts? Mark?
I was just marking it that's going to be answered live.
All right, Marissa says architecture team. Who are my architects? Yoshi? Or no, Yoshi structural. Ryan or Jack? Anything about noise?
We're both construction.
Okay.
I was architecture, and I don't think we considered the noise mitigation for any of those areas, at least on our team.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Monday. Great job. Great presentation. I thought it was fantastic. I liked the pace. You were so clear in the way you explained everything. We are going to move on to the Tuesday Team 2. So what's going to happen is I am going to go into the panelist section and move all of the Mondays to attendees, and Mark Kinsman is going to go into the attendee section and move all of the Tuesdays up. So we're going to start that right now. It's just going to take a second, and then I'll introduce our team leaders for Tuesday. So everyone stay posted, stay tuned. Just take a second. Mark is fast. He's faster than I am. We got lots of Tuesdays up here. Okay. Okay. All right, Mark, it looks good to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Fantastic. Okay, and then Kayla and PJ, if you see anyone that needs to be moved, just let me know. Okay, so Tuesday Seattle Team 2, our team leaders were Kayla Verbitsky from GGLO and PJ Benanati from GGLO. If you'd like to take a few minutes to introduce your team and introduce your video, then we'll get started.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my dog is ambushing me right at the perfect moment. Just another part of this, virtual experience that we've had to get over. I would just like to really quickly ask the students that are logged in under like their parents' names or a name that is not there to maybe type in the Q&A and just let me know that you are not currently a panelist. But getting back to our team this year, I just want to thank our mentors. Actually, a really big shout out to Caroline Engel, who is not on the brochure. I'm so sorry, Caroline, but you were fantastic. She's from Collins Warman. But we had mentors from GGLO, Lise Crutcher-Lewis, PIE engineers, and actually some independents. So thank you guys for sticking with us throughout this transition to the virtual platform. Obviously, a huge shout out to these students who work through multiple connectivity issues around their school schedules, interruptions by parents, their dogs, cats, you know, whatever. And basically got a really quick crash course in each of their given disciplines on a virtual platform, which is a difficulty for even professionals. So thank you guys for sticking with it and for putting together a really great presentation. So with that, enjoy.
Hello, my name is Zach Burwell.
My name is Aiden William Shorten, son of John Paul Shorten, son of Stan Shorten.
My name is Aria Grosvia.
My name is Audrey Lou Sherbin.
And my name is Bella.
Welcome to our presentation. We're Tuesday Team 2 and we're doing the performance hall. Our purpose is the City of Seattle has asked us to build on 3 plots of land that were freed up during the replacement of the viaduct with the Highway 99 tunnel. Some background info from our RFP is we need to make a performance hall from plot C. We get 10,000 square feet for stage and seating, 5,000 square feet for backstage, and 5,000 square feet for support spaces, which are like bathrooms, concessions, etc. We also need to provide a small amphitheater for free public use.
Our mission statement is to create an aesthetically pleasing building that provides a safe space for entertainment and learning while being environmentally friendly and reflecting its Pacific Northwest origins.
We came up with a unique design for the building that would welcome people and become and catch people's attention. We also wanted an aesthetic set an example for future buildings to reuse energy. And we also want to inspire local artists and musicians to become passionate and creative. We were given common area, lobby, and seating, which we added balcony seating and lobby to create more room and capacity. We also added outdoor rooftop and terrace to welcome people and bring others together.
So here we have an aerial view of the site and the surrounding area. So as you can see, it's very close to downtown, just about a 10 or 15-minute walk. And there are several landmarks around it. So here we can go, you see some of the points of interest. Just to the south, there's the Seattle Aquarium, and a little bit farther down the waterfront is the Seattle Great Wheel. Obviously, it is right on the water. And just a 4-ish minute walk away is the very famous Pike Place Market. And so here we have 2 more maps. One of them gives you a bit of an idea for walking distance. So if you walked 5 minutes down to Elliott Bay, that's how far you would get. And then some of the surrounding areas, surrounding green areas.
We were given the concept idea from the detailed and organic shape of clams and shells, and the ocean waves in motion bring calmness.
We implemented the concept of the clam and wave through the dynamic shape of the outer roof / shell of the performance hall, and the amphitheater located closest to the water being the pearl. The performance hall also has a large balcony on the third floor, as well as roof access to the north end, giving great lookout spots at the view. And the west wall is also made entirely of glass to provide a clear view of Seattle's waterfront and the Olympic mountain range.
So here's the floor plan for our ground level, and as you can see, we wanted to maximize our waterfront kind of area, and so as you can see, we have our amphitheater on the northwest corner, allowing for a nice view over the bay. As well as shown in the previous slides, our lobby has glass on the outer edge, allowing for a view out. Our stage is located in the northeast corner, with our backstage areas like the green room surrounding it, behind it. And they're also adjacent to the alley, allowing for easy access from back there. And so here's the basement floor, and we have set design and trash and storage, also adjacent to the alley, as well as set design being just below the stage.
The mezzanine is generally open to below, except for the small mezzanine lobby, the AV room, and the 2 restrooms by the stairs and elevator in the southeast corner of this floor. The AV room lines up with the stage for a direct view of what's happening during a show, for the theater technician's view for controlling the lights and stuff. On level 2, there's access to the balcony seating through the balcony lobby that wraps around the seating area. The elevator is on the north side of the building and adjacent to the dressing rooms and restroom for the actors. The main areas on level 3 are the cafe and outdoor terrace, which overlooks the waterfront. The lobby is in the northwest corner of this floor and connects the admin to the rest of the floor, and also has the elevator, which goes up to the roof, as well as stairs. On the roof, we have the rooftop terrace, accessible by elevator or the staircase on the exterior of the shell coming from the northeast corner of the building. The rooftop terrace is open for the public use.
There is no second rooftop terrace, so ignore the part of the stairs that leads to that. But the stairs do lead to the northern platform. The original inspiration was drawn from ski moguls and how they allow skiers to descend high elevations in shorter distance. And then we modeled them after pictures of Indian stepwells.
The purpose for the performance hall to be very open and rounded is to ensure that the noise and volume reflects out to the audience.
Sections give us a better idea of how the rooms are placed and where they are. And this section shows us the shape of the roof, which gives us a better idea of the acoustic design.
So here's some of the materials that we wanted to try and use in the construction of the building. So it's a little hard to tell in here, but the part of the roof that wraps around the balcony or goes over the balcony was intended to be glass. However, in contributing to the sustainability of the building, we found that there's a variety of photovoltaics that are semi-transparent. And so we were intending to use some of those as replacement panels. For the rest of the clamshell, we like the design of the Mopop building in Seattle. And so we decided to use the painted aluminum shingles using a pattern similar to the one shown there. We also really like the movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, so we wanted to have a glass elevator, so if you didn't get enough of the waterfront view in the lobby, you can look out over it while you're riding up the elevator. So here's a little more in-depth look at the sustainability side of the building. So here's another kind of type of the semi-transparent photovoltaics. They're a little bit less efficient, but obviously they allow some light through. There's also your standard building integrated photovoltaics, which are incorporated into the superstructure. which allows it's easier to construct and incorporate into the electrical grid. They can be placed like shingles, so our intention was to use them similar to the semi-transparent variety and replace some of the sections of the roof with them.
A concave shape directs the sound to certain places throughout the room, which causes the acoustics to be different throughout it, though we can design it so that no one is sitting there where the sound is uneven. Convex shape spreads the sound out more evenly and allows for better acoustics. Concrete absorbs high to mid frequencies, though we can paint and finish over the holes to make it more reflective. Metal can absorb low frequencies and tends to rattle. Plaster would need to be 1.5 to 2 inches thick to keep stiff and prevent vibrations, though it needs more support. And wood, if it's too thin with airspace behind it, it can rattle and absorb low frequencies.
The landscape architecture team focused on being environmentally friendly while creating their designs. The individual designs also had many elements that reflect Pacific Northwest origins. The plaza uses materials that are sustainable. The main ones in the plaza are concrete, increases the durability of structures, and is a recyclable building product, and reclaimed wood, which is used throughout all landscape architecture spaces. The goal of the planting in the plaza was to create a space that felt like the Pacific Northwest environment. This includes the salal, a native shrub significant to the coastal Salish tribe, red flowering currant, and sword fern. The plaza is located on the west side of the property and is split between a free amphitheater area and a planting/walkway area. The amphitheater is in the northwest corner of the property, so people have the ability to travel from the cafe and enjoy their food and drink while watching performances. Performances can be watched from either the swings or the benches. The amphitheater seating also acts as an ideal area to view the Puget Sound. There are vine maple trees that are native to Seattle along the outside of the plaza to provide shade in the summer. While sitting in the walkway or traveling along the walkway, people should feel like they're in a safe space and a more natural environment. The walkway is surrounded by planting, but there are many exit points so people can move in and out however they please. Along the walkway are wood benches and solar-powered pathway lights. The walkway leads to the swings, which view the amphitheater. The amphitheater should also be visible from the promenade so people feel compelled to sit down and watch performances.
Alaska Way Precedents. This landscape is focused on a new and sustainable way of looking at what would have been a normal sidewalk and bike lane. Some sustainable features that are in this space are concrete, a large rain garden, and reclaimed steel fences. The aim of this area was to create a welcoming and eye-catching place that draws in people to the site and other features it has. It also has a place for people to sit down and relax while talking to friends next to the rain garden. Some fun and bright plants that are in the rain garden include Calamagrostis canadensis, sea thrift, sedum autumn joy, and the black tupelo. Alaska Way is located on the south side of the building. It is sectioned into multiple parts: a street, two-way bike lane, rain garden, movable seating so that people can adjust and be comfortable in the area, and a sidewalk. The rain garden is a beautiful way of showcasing lots of plants that also provide a barrier and provide a sustainable element in the area. While walking or biking on Alaska Way, you should be taken away, not only at the massive mural on the wall, but how a simple area has been made into a place where you can sit down and talk, bike down a safe and pretty bike lane, and enjoy what's around you. You should also want to continue walking down Alaska Way, which will lead you to the other features of the site, including the alley, plaza, and everything that's inside the building itself. The intentions of the alleyway was to create a space for new art with an area to sit down. The alleyway has large walls on each side, perfect for showcasing art. The alleyway materials include reclaimed wood, hanging LED lights, concrete, and methanocyanicis. Alley plan. The alley is located on the north side of the building. It is designed to showcase art and encourage people to relax after an event or explore other parts of the building and what's around it. The sustainable elements in the alley is the bench, which is made of reclaimed wood, and the LED lights, which efficiently use a small amount of energy. Alley section. While walking down the alleyway, you should feel drawn in awe to the uniqueness of it. The wall connected to the building, on the left, provides a space for local and/or new artists to showcase their art that are sustainable for outside, to the public. The alleyway is a great place for this because there are large walls on each side that block wind, and it's a more private area that won't be full of walkers and/or bikers who are just going by. The space on the wall across the building to the right has a long wooden bench that is made of reclaimed wood with tall grass coming out the back of the bench to bring a little nature into the alleyway. Above the bench are LED lights that are hung across the top of the bench and walkway to encourage people to walk down the alleyway and enjoy the art. When going out of the alley into the plaza, you should feel excited with the surprise of an amphitheater, an amazing view of Puget Sound, and an intriguing landscape. If you are coming into the alley from the amphitheater or from the elevator, you should feel relaxed and interested in the art and a place to sit while you're going back out into Alaska Way.
Moving on to the cafe terrace, we'll be using 3 different kinds of plants. We'll be going over these a bit later in the presentation. We want to be going for a feeling of this picture, more so meaning a homey, rustic feeling. Meanwhile, we want to go for a look more so modern, such as the middle version, which has a more simple, less cluttered look to the whole experience. For most of the furnishings on the site, as well as the floor, we'll be using reclaimed wood, just like all of the other areas for landscape. For the planters on the side, they will all be just a simple rectangular planter, again, made from reclaimed wood, and they are going to be filled with a shrub, hedge, whatever you want to call it, named Edward Goucher Abelia, which is a pink, vibrant shrub, which will have highlights of Viper's bug loss throughout, which is a pink and blue mixture, just to make the entire area pop and be more welcoming. About 3/4 of the way down, you can see that there's a planter in the middle of this, which seems off. That is because it is cutting off the cafe area to the seating area. This area is meant for viewing of the amphitheater. The terrace is right above the plaza area, meaning that it has a great view of the sound, as well as when you're on the viewing area, right next to it, if you just look over the edge, is the amphitheater. So you have a nice seating, a little bit more private, but not totally, for viewing the public amphitheater. The benches are going to be made from the same reclaimed wood as everything else. Going back over to the cafe side, the tables and chairs are going to be simple metal outdoor furnishings, just what you would find at a Home Depot or the like. And for the cutoff, which isn't shown, but it's right in front of this doorway here, the doorway cutting it, it's going to be filled with a Japanese sedge called, to kind of, it's a green plant, which brings more comfort with kind of a white outline just to bring a bit more crispness into the view.
On this slide, you will see a plant wall inspired by the Aria Hotel in Las Vegas. The wall reflects the Pacific Northwest and shows the aspects of nature surrounding the building. The wall will help the visitors feel another side to the Pacific Northwest and connect it with the surrounding nature. The next picture is a similar idea of the bar/counter facing the sound. It is a countertop that is wood, and it is connected to the wall and facing the scenery around the building. It invites the visitors to sit down and enjoy the view that the rooftop has to offer. The bulb-strung lights provide a lighting in a unique way and reflects the city feeling. They look pretty at night and give off a homey and relaxing feeling. The tables provide more seating options and more places to look at the surrounding view. The tables will help the visitors relax before and after a performance and help them feel more welcome at the hall. The tables help invite the visitors to relax and take in the surroundings while spending time with their acquaintances. On this slide, you will see the whole view of the roof deck with every detail in place. This slide shows pictures of the plants used on the plant wall as long as the furniture in place. The yellow bell clements is a vine that adds a pop of yellow and green flowery look. The variegated hardy kiwi provides a leafy Pacific Northwest look, enhancing the nature around the building. The Abanum clematis add a more traditional flower that look and continues to add to the enhancement of nature around the building. Its colors also have a nice contrast with the yellow bell clements. Visitors will be able to use the plant wall for taking pictures, and it also shows the visitors how the building tries to tries to be environmentally friendly. On the next slide, you will see specific materials used in the furniture and walls. The brick is used to add to the city feel of Seattle and reflects on something other than nature to add some diversity. The color of the brick also gives off a warmer feeling to the rooftop. The wood is a sample of the wood being used on the bar/counter facing the sound. Wood adds a nature feel to include the nature surroundings. The counter helps invite the visitors to sit back and enjoy the view. The fireplace is located on the side of the deck and is added to help add warmth to the deck for when it's cold outside during the fall and winter, spring and summer nights. With the added warmth, the visitors will feel more comfortable on the rooftop, making them want to stay longer. It is a cement fireplace to include a more city feeling to help balance the nature of the city feelings. The visitors can gather around the fireplace while looking out at the sound and the beauty surrounding the performance hall. The umbrellas on the building are on the building for when it's raining 3/4 of the seasons during the year. It provides yearly access no matter the weather conditions, so the visitors can stand outside and be dry. They are on the tables because it will make the tables accessible even in the winter.
For the lobby and concessions, we went for a spacious open look. We installed large windows against the west wall, allowing for guests to feel connected to the outside while maintaining the comfort of the indoors. Aqua-colored walls allowed visitors to be reminded of the vast Puget Sound just steps away from the building. The seating encourages people to meet new friends and mingle. The marble flooring with its glossy surface helps keep the room bright with natural light while still maintaining a modern feel. Chihuly commissioned chandeliers will once more reinforce the feeling of ocean and water. Small plants around the lobby help keep people conscious about our environment, and double-sided couches save space while giving a futuristic look to the lobby. We wanted a simple yet tasteful color palette for our lobby and concessions, which includes blue, white, and black.
The design of the theater is meant to invoke a flow similar to the flow of the Puget Sound. Our region is characterized by the way water and land interact and move around each other, and the vineyard-style theater exemplifies that quality. Short dividing walls separate seating sections, as seen in the image on the bottom, and give the theater a unique geography. Here, the layout of the seating blocks can be seen in relation to the plans. In the image on the right, the large white spaces are the seating, and the solid red lines are aisles for people to access their seats. The solid thin blue lines are short walls which section off the seating without blocking the view of patrons. The dashed blue lines are the edge of the seating where people can walk in between rows. The ambiance of a theater is one of the most important things for a designer to create. Here, sharp geometric shapes on the wall represent the contrast between the Puget Sound and the rocks and coastlines of our state. The dark blue carpet represents the ocean, obviously, and complements the gray seats nicely. The overall color palette stays darker to mimic the inside of the shell we can see from the outside. Visitors should almost expect the pearl to be located on the stage in front of them.
For the first slide, I mainly want to go over the inspiration pictures and the overall materials that will be used in the cafe. The cafe is on the top floor and looks over the water. I really wanted to tie in the modern feel of Seattle with an almost minimalist style to create a clean look that goes well with the design of the auditorium and lobby. The cafe is attached to a terrace, so the incorporation of a lot of plants in the interior will create an effortless flow from the inside to outside. The tables on the inside, I chose black 4-person tables. The tables, being such a neutral color, will also match the black bar stools and chairs. The lighting will be black industrial-looking lights that have a modern yet comfortable look to them. Because of the furniture being so dark, in order to lighten the room, I decided on a light gray concrete floor. Again, in contrast to the black furniture, a very basic subway tile will be used behind the counter. Since all the colors are neutral, decorations can be added to keep the theme of blue started in the lobby going, making all the rooms feel connected. The cafe has a very simple interior. As you enter, to the left of you, you'd see bar-style seating up against the window looking out towards the water. Continuing your walk-in, to the right you would see the ordering spot, where foods would be displayed and where you would order. Around the corner, there is a main seating area where there are 6 4-person tables up against the walls. Through the doors in the center of the bar seating is the outside terrace. The terrace features 8 2-person tables made of metal and polished wood. Keeping the outside fairly open will create not only a seating area, but also a lookout point.
We are the structural engineers, and we're the engineers that help make the building stand. We work with the architects and communicate with them and the contractors to help design innovative and safe building environments. We apply physics and math to ensure the building is safe and serviceable for the manner in which our building is used. In our building, we have opted to use steel over concrete for our structural design. This is primarily due to the lightness of steel in comparison to concrete, and steel will help us form the irregular shape that our building uses. While steel is more expensive per pound, the strength of steel allows us to use less metal overall, and therefore lowering the cost while also increasing the structural security of our building in comparison to concrete.
Okay. Gravity loads are vertical forces acting on structures. These loads can be dead loads or live loads, and all gravity loads need a complete load path to the ground. Load paths tell us how much force is in every piece of the structure, allowing us to design the structure to be strong enough. The force from a gravitational load travels throughout the structure from the origin of the force all the way to the footing of the building. A gravity load on a slab is transferred to beams in the floor. The force moves across the beams to the columns. It then travels down the columns until it reaches the footing of the building. This is a load path for a building with a concrete structure. Our structure will be made up of steel, but the same principles still apply. Loads are an important concept to consider as the structure will be fighting with various forces to stay standing. Some of these forces are dead loads. These weights are generally going to be the same during the life of a structure. They do not change over time. An additional load would be the live load. These are the loads that are subject to change and depend on the usage of the space. How do we know how much the live load will be? How much do people weigh? Luckily for us, the building code gives us guidance on different types of live loads based on different types of spaces and their uses. As you can see from the table, an outdoor patio with heavy trees and planters has a pretty large live load compared to a lobby. An aspect of the gravity system we will be discussing today would be the roof trusses that would be supporting the long spanning roof. Because of the need for a large open space for a performance hall, the roof needs to span a great distance. We realize that trusses are a great way to do that since trusses are essentially like bridges and can span large distances. These designs have been simplified, but the general engineering principles are still being applied. The truss is 150 feet long, made up of 15 bays. Each bay has both a height and width of 10 feet. A diagonal element travels across each bay at a 45-degree angle. Each truss has 32 nodes. A node is a connecting point or intersection of two or more parts of the truss. Each node on the truss has 3 reactionary forces. These are the values of the forces at each node when a force of 150 pounds is applied. Each end of the truss has a supporting force of 10,500 pounds in the upward direction to combat the overall gravitational force of the truss. As the table shows, Force 1 and Force 3 increase in magnitude as we move towards the center of the truss, and Force 2 decreases in magnitude. You can see that Force 2 gets bigger towards Node 1, which is at the support. All the loads at the top of the truss get transferred into the support, and F2 is the only force with a vertical component. For a structure to stand up, it must be in static equilibrium, meaning that all the forces are balanced. Here are the calculations for the reaction forces at node 2. We know that the sum of the forces in the horizontal and vertical directions have to be 0 in order for this truss to remain in static equilibrium. We are also able to calculate the moment force by using the 2 forces that do not intersect with our node, those forces being force 3 and the upward force from the support at the end of the truss. To calculate a moment force, you multiply the magnitude of the force by the distance of that force from the intersection. The sum of the moment forces will also equal 0. We are able to use the equations to solve for force 3 and force 2, and then use both of these to solve for force 1. Force 1 ends up being negative, showing that it is in the opposite direction of the other 2 reactionary forces.
Lateral loads are forces that are applied parallel to the ground and are horizontal forces acting on a structure. In our building, in an area like Seattle, we are generally designing for the horizontal force that is an earthquake instead of wind, because Seattle is a more seismic region in comparison to a place like New York City, where they don't really have earthquakes and they design for wind. So we will be designing for potential seismic activity for our lateral load from an earthquake. There are 2 types of lateral loads, earthquake loads and wind loads. For us, mainly using earthquake loads, we are using Newton's second law, which is force equivalent to mass, which we consider our dead loads, and acceleration, which is the actual force of the earthquake, which will determine the amount of force that we need to build for to help sure that our building is habitable and safe for anyone inside during an earthquake. Similar to, as James said before, lateral forces also have load paths. It is how the weight will spread down through the supports in the building. Cross braces are especially helpful for distributing these forces, and these specifically help for protection against earthquakes and high wind speeds. Each of the floors are lumped together and then are carried out from the floor to the braces to the column to the foundation in order to support the forces so they do not impact one part of the building harder than the other. For our lateral system, we are primarily using cross braces. As shown by the diagram on the bottom left, adding diagonal braces is stiffer, and brace frames give us a very stiff lateral system, which will really help protect our building against earthquakes. The cross braces will be put on exterior walls, and our lateral system needs to be instituted in order to deal with these primarily large earthquakes in Seattle. Cross braces will take both tensile and compressive forces to help, which is to help our building stand an earthquake. First, we took the risk category for us, which is 4, which is the highest risk category, because our building will be used as a shelter in case of an emergency. So that's going to raise the amount of force we need to design for because it needs to stay standing and strong. We took that along with other data from the Seattle building requirements and put it in our lateral formula, which gave us 59,276 kip, which each kip is equal to 1,000 pounds that we need to design for in case of an earthquake. Our location helped us determine this, and this is what we will use to make sure our building is strong enough for the future.
I'm Julian. I'm part of the MEP team, which stands for Mechanical, Electrical, Plumbing. So we deal with more of the technical aspects of the building as compared to some other disciplines, and we deal with how the building functions and how occupants can use the amenities within. The first MEP design component is the mechanical systems. So this distributes air throughout the building, which helps to keep the air fresh and maintains temperatures at a comfortable level for occupants. The 2 main pieces of equipment we use for this are FCUs and AHUs. FCUs are fan coil units, and these incorporate a fan which blows air over a coil, and this coil either has heated or cooled water in it, varying depending on how the temperature of the room needs to be adjusted. These usually moderate temperatures for smaller areas such as single rooms, and for our building they will be used in areas such as the administrative offices or the concessions area. The AHU is an air handling unit. We will have one of these in our building. They are basically a much larger version of the FCU, which supplies air for the rest of the building not covered by the FCUs. So this is centrally located on the ground level in the mechanical room, and this feeds air to the other spaces through ductwork up and down the levels and across each floor, which provides the fresh air and the constant temperature moderation for each level. Return transfer grills on the walls of the seating area and backstage will allow airflow between areas, and exhaust vents will be located in each restroom on each level in order to mitigate any smells. The next MEP design component is the electrical systems. These are very important to keep the facility and amenities running, not only including the lighting and sound systems, but also including the mechanical systems such as the AHU and FCU. Electrical needs will be supplied through the city utility connection, which will then be distributed to the various panels to service the many different types of equipment within the building. You can see a list on the slide here. This includes stuff like cooking appliances, or as I mentioned before, lighting. Photovoltaic cells on the roof will feed back through the distribution board and then to the city's electrical utility lines as well.
Hi, my name is Lucy Tanner. This diagram is a sanitary riser diagram. This is used to show how the sanitary waste is drained throughout the building. Sanitary waste is solid or liquid waste that is specifically coming from humans. The main rooms that require drainage are the restrooms, food areas, for example the cafe, and anywhere that has a water fountain. All the sanitary waste goes throughout the building and into the city plumbing, shown by the small C at the bottom of the diagram. This diagram is important because it allows us to show the other disciplines where we need plumbing lines throughout the building.
Another design component of our building that we touched on earlier is the photovoltaic cells, which are going to be located on the roof. So photovoltaic cells are incorporated because we have a lot of roof space that can be used, and as it's near the waterfront, there aren't many tall buildings around it to block sun from hitting the roof, so we have lots of sunlight that we can utilize. This also goes along with the concept of using natural elements in our design, and we can make use of sunlight as a great renewable source of energy. So for our building, we selected 2 types of photovoltaic panels. There's the transparent BIPV panels, which are building integrated photovoltaic panels. These are by Onyx Solar, and this has a...
In our building, we decided to include radiant floor heating in the performance hall area. There are two options for floor heating, electric or hydronic. We chose to do electric simply because it was more convenient for the building. Electric floor heating is beneficial because it can be customizable and is designed to be embedded in mortar. We chose to use radiant floor heating because it gives a uniform heating of the room, requires little to no maintenance, and produces little noise, along with being good for people with allergies. Humans also find that radiant heating is simply more comfortable.
Hey, I'm Sebastian, and I'm a senior on the construction team. Going to construction, I found it really interesting to learn more about how it actually works on the ground, how the actual construction and building it works. I think it's really interesting to learn more about the planning processes, including the scheduling and logistics plan.
Hi, I'm Max, and I'm a freshman on the ACE construction team. I wanted to learn how everything is planned out and how everything happens before the building is constructed and put together. So first, we collected all of the square footages of all the components to the building. Then next we found out the price per square footage, and then we took the square footages and multiplied the pricing and got the dollar value. And next we gathered all of the numbers and got the subtotal for most of the project. And then next we got the contingency sale tax, insurance fee, and total of the whole construction project was $28,823,799. And some of the big components were the interior construction, 43,000 square feet, about $6 million, and 21%. The exterior walls and windows, 37,000 square feet, about $5 million, and 19%. Next, the workflow. Pre-work day briefings are very important, so everybody knows what's going to go on during the day and everyone knows their job. And teamwork is very essential because everybody needs to know so everything goes smoothly, which translates into time and cost savings.
All the construction workers and managers need to have a good idea of where the site is and what kind of routing the trucks will take, which is why I created a site logistics plan. Using a base map of the site area, I added several features, including the route for the trucks to take, bathrooms, offices for site managers, the crane, and other features. Since it is in a pretty urban and dense environment, there are a lot of challenges we face here that we might not face in, say, suburban Bellevue. Some of those challenges include having lots of pedestrians and bicyclists in the area to ensure we're really safe and that no lives are hurt or killed. We will have flaggers on site to ensure the trucks are taking the route safely and making sure to watch out for people. We will also close down temporarily the waterfront path while we're delivering stuff to the site. And then we have a dedicated truck to turn around so the trucks can park there, get their stuff out and turn around. And then we also have a wide radius crane that will be able to access the whole site from the front of it. Then I also made a schedule so we can have a clear idea of it. For any big project like this, it's always kind of hard to know exactly. So I made sure we have plenty of time for everything to be completed. First of all, starting March 2020, there's design and permitting work to be done. With such a big project, there's a lot of paperwork to do with the city, which is actually good in this case with the pandemic, because it means we don't have to start the demolition until September 2020. So giving us a little more time to make sure everyone's safe. And then come October to November 2020, we'll be starting the structure and roofing as well as the HVAC and electrical. And then starting May/June, we will have completed the walls and windows and we'll begin interior construction of the building. October 2021, we'll have all the HVAC and plumbing completely completed. The month after, we'll have completed the sprinklers and the electrical. And 1 month after that, we'll finish up the interior and make a grand opening to the whole public.
Goodbye, everyone. I've enjoyed parts of our time together.
Right. Thank you to the Tuesday Team 2 for your presentation. I am going to invite the judges to pose a couple of questions to the team. So if you're on the architecture team and we have an architecture question, feel free to pipe in, and we look forward to hearing from some students. Matt, Marjorie, Rob?
Yeah, there was one really quick question that I think someone flagged is that they would answer it live, and then that kind of triggered it into a not open question from Sarah that I just want to read. There are lots of plants around the building. What considerations were given to the seasonal appearance and the overall maintenance of those plants? I think that would be an architecture. Well, it could be landscape also.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm fairly certain most of the plants that we chose are fairly blooming all year round, with maybe the exception of one season, as well as they're all fairly low maintenance. They're low to mid maintenance, so they can rely generally on rain or just watering once a week to once every other week.
So there's an irrigation system that's accounted for?
I believe so. I think that would be more of a MEP area, but I believe there is one. Yes.
I had a quick question to the architectural team about the roof system. So, and this might be me misunderstanding. So, is the intent that the roof system is partially transparent, such that people who are seated in the actual theater portion, looking at the stage, have access to the light, or is there an actual kind of barrier between those two, so the kind of geometric glass shape of the roof is only visible from the outside?
Yeah, so the idea was to, I mean, unfortunately, I can't show the kind of like image that we had, but anyway, the idea was to have the transparent portion of the roof be just over the balcony and potentially on the cafe area, but definitely not, or well, the idea was not to have the stage area to be kind of, or to allow light in.
Okay, just making sure, because I think that would be a lot of, on a Sunday, I wouldn't want to go to the theater on a sunny day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like we have any structural students here, and I don't need to grill the structural mentor. That's okay. Just as a general comment I had for the presentation, a lot of great images, both rendering, 3D, the floor plans, the hand sketches, everything looked very nice and professional for this presentation. So it was, and everything was very colorful and good images. So that was a very easy to follow. I guess honestly, the only real thing that I didn't like about the presentation is I kept getting confused which way was north, because I think it flipped once and it took me a second to get caught up. But just in general from the presentation standpoint. But Rob, do you have any questions?
Well, I compliment the team on design inspiration, Northwest Origins design inspiration that connects clamshells with snowmobiles, and the reflection of that in the glass and painted metal of the exterior. And also, I appreciated that there was some addressing of sustainability. And this is a project type that is challenging to be sustainable because of such high energy use. And also that there was some attention and research into acoustics for these type of facilities. I think I appreciated kind of the thoroughness of all of that.
So I thought everything looked great. The attention to detail was amazing. I like that you pointed out the delivery method that was design build. It would have been nice to see a little bit more interaction between the team members as a design build methodology. And I think if you tied that in a little bit more instead of just the individual disciplines talking and maybe collaborated a little bit more, because that would really shine and show your design build aspect. But overall, I think it's a great project.
And I had one quick question about some of the outdoor spaces that were elevated for one of the architectural team, like the cafe and that roof deck. Is this building, I guess, are those areas always available to the public, or does the building have to be open in order for those spaces to be occupiable?
So I think it kind of so from what there's two different spaces that we had, and so there's the balcony on the third floor, and then we also had a rooftop balcony. And I think the idea was, given that the third floor balcony its only real entrance is on the third floor, I think I'm going to be honest, we didn't really discuss this, but I think the implication was that that would be closed during, like if the building wasn't open, that wouldn't be open. But the rooftop balcony, the stairway does just connect to the outside ground floor. So theoretically, that could be open when the building is not.
Thank you. And I just actually finished a performing arts center building up recently, and I don't know if you guys considered this or not. Was there any consideration for a catwalk system or something to provide lighting? I don't know if that's more of an architectural or a MEP question. I just know because that's a very fussy thing with getting all that stuff to align with all the systems and mechanical and structural. So was there any consideration for a catwalk system? And if so, I guess how would you approach that from supporting that from the roof? Well, I guess there's no structural teams, but from an architectural standpoint, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, I guess I can speak for the architecture team in that we didn't end up discussing that. However, we didn't even think to do that, but I don't know if the structural team discussed it, but I think we decided, or we figured out we didn't have any members on. But anyway, yeah, we did not discuss that, unfortunately.
Yeah, MEP didn't discuss that either.
Okay.
So I would say, in fairness, having done lots of performing arts facilities, your team was short about a dozen consultants who contribute to that issue and lots of other ones that you have to address. So you did a great job in covering this with a small team.
So I didn't see any other questions in the Q&A, and I did not have any specific ones. Any of the other judges have anything else? Okay.
All right, nice job, guys. Do you guys want to give one final word of advice or conclusion to the team, and then we'll wrap it up?
Yeah, the one thing I would like to say, and this would apply to both teams, is if you're a senior and you've done this program, or you're continuing to do this into college, or considering maybe doing that, like, great job. Way to stick through this and kind of, I always said when I used to lead teams was, I wish this program existed where I was when I was growing up, to give me a better sense of what I do today, back then, and get my feet a little bit wet before I jumped right into it. And what I will say to all of the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, if you do plan to continue to do ACE, and I obviously recommend that, even if you really enjoy, like, say you've done architecture for 2 or 3 years, I might try try a different discipline, just to see if that's something that intrigues you as well. that's one thing that I really liked about ACE, and just working as a professional in general, is working with the different disciplines and getting to learn the different systems that go into buildings outside of what I'm comfortable with and what I know from school and my work. So, obviously great job with everything today. This is obviously only made harder by everyone needing to be separate and kind of working that way as well. But I think everyone did a very good job to give us 2 great presentations. So congratulations again.
Marjorie or Rob, any final words?
No, I think you guys did a great job, both teams. It was fun to watch, and keep learning and ask lots of questions.
Thanks. Rob, anything?
I just encourage both teams, all members of both teams, to keep that sharp creative spark they demonstrated in their thinking and their presentations of the projects.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This concludes our presentation night. We've had a real treat tonight getting to see both of these presentations, the culmination of a year's worth of hard work from both of the teams. So every year, the creativity, the innovation that the students come up with, it's always so inspiring. So there's no doubt that the future of the building environment is in good hands. I also want to mention one more thing. While there are other mentoring programs designed to give high school students exposure to architecture and engineering, ACE is unique in that it exposes students to the breadth of the entire building industry while providing a hands-on experience through the whole design project. Putting this program together takes a tremendous amount of time and energy and dedication. In fact, we've crunched the numbers and we've learned that we run a $1 million program every year. But the lion's share of this program, it comes from volunteer hours, donated space and pizza and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't take a whole $1 million to run the program, but we do have excellent scholarship program and overhead costs. If you feel inspired and you'd like to make a donation, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and all of that's tax deductible. We determined it costs about $235 for each student who goes through the program, but because of our individual and corporate donors, all of that's covered and we can offer ACE for free. So we hope that you've had an amazing year. Congratulations to all of the teams. Thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you next fall. Whatever that looks like, ACE will still be around because buildings will always be around. Okay, have a great evening. Thanks for coming. Oh, lastly, I wanted to thank Mark Kinsman with Mortensen. He is our technological guru. I cannot forget him. He's been with me all week, and he's our Zoom master. And thank you, Mark, for all that you do so we can have these presentations. So, all right, we'll see you next year. Any questions, feel free to reach out, and have a great night.